6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Lal Mallavarachi and read by J. Yogaraj for C headlines. State Minister Shayan Semasinga says the discussions between Sri Lanka and International Monetary Fund are progressing well. 182,140 more families will now receive benefits under the Aswasuma program following the revision of appeals and objections. Iran President is to visit the island to inaugurate the Uma Oya project. The 108th birth anniversary of the late Sri Mawa Bandaranaike, the world's first woman Prime Minister, falls today. Sarvodaya founder Dr. A.T.R. passes away. News overseas: U.S. expect to impose further sanctions on Iran in the coming days. In sports, All-Island Air Badminton Championship will be held in Bandaravilla on the 20th and 21st of this month. And those are the headlines. Sri Lanka and International Monetary Fund are focused on the next step in completing the second review of the IMF's extended fund facility. According to the Finance Ministry, a discussion in this regard was held between State Minister Shayan Semasinga and Executive Director of the International Monetary Fund for Sri Lanka and India, Dr. Krishnamurthy Subramaniam, in Washington. State Minister Semasinga, who left Sri Lanka to attend the mid-year spring meetings 2024 of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank in Washington, has joined the special discussion on the sidelines of the conference. The State Minister also pointed out that the discussions between Sri Lanka and the International Monetary Fund are progressing well. Mr. Semasinga states that support provided by the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank and other international partners during the worst economic crisis in the history of the country in 2022 is a main reason for the stability and the progress that Sri Lanka has achieved today. State Minister of Finance Shayan Semasinga has announced that an additional 182,140 families will now receive benefits under the Aswasama Welfare Benefit Program following the revision of the appeals and objections. The decision brings the total number of beneficiaries to 18,54,000. The government has committed 58.5 billion rupees to support these payments, including arrears which will be settled by tomorrow. Despite the expansion, around 200,000 qualified families have not yet opened the required bank accounts or updated their personal details, delaying their access to the benefits. The State Minister expressed concern over the lack of a response from these families despite extensive efforts by regional secretaries and media campaigns to reach them. This news comes to you from Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi will arrive in Sri Lanka on the 24th of April on a one-day visit. The aim of this visit is to inaugurate a Tehran-assisted $529 million worth Uma Oya multi-purpose development project. This is the first time an Iranian president coming to Sri Lanka since 2008. The Uma Oya project was originally scheduled to be completed in 2015 but had been delayed several times due to unexpected issues. The project includes storing water in 2 reservoirs with dams before being brought through a 23-kilometer tunnel to 2 turbines located underground and generating hydropower with a capacity of 120 megawatts and added to the national grid. After power generation, the water is expected to be brought to 3 reservoirs while supplying water to 20,000 acres of old and new paddy fields in both Yala and Maha seasons. The auspicious time with regard to leaving for one's occupation fell today at 6:28 a.m. Clad in white-colored attire, leave for work while facing south after having occurred mixed milk rice and sweet eats. 108th birth anniversary of the late Sri Mawa Bandaranaike, the world's first woman Prime Minister, falls today. The commemorative event will be held at 2:30 p.m. at the Lotus Hall of the Bandaranaike International Conference Hall, attended by the late Prime Minister's daughter, former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumartunga, and other invitees. The founder of the Sarvodaya Shramadana movement in Sri Lanka, Dr. A.T.R. has passed away at the age of 93. Dr. Aryatna is a founder of the Emeritus of Sarvodaya Shramadana Movement of Sri Lanka, a grassroots humanitarian organization based on the concept of sharing of labor, thought and energy for the awakening of all. Sarvodaya has been active throughout Sri Lanka since 1958 despite numerous hardships it had faced over the years. For over 63 years, Sarvodaya has continued its service as the largest non-government movement in Sri Lanka, and Dr. Ariyaratne has received many national and international awards in recognition of his commitment to the nation and its people. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena has instructed the officials to perform the funeral of Dr. Ariyaratne with state honours. Former Deputy Minister and former UNP parliamentarian Palitha Thevaraperama has passed away at the age of 64. He had died from electrocution and its remains had been placed at the Kaluthara Hospital. Mr. Thevaraperama was popular among the locals in his constituency for his services to the public, especially during COVID-19 pandemic, for having provided food, dry rations and other necessities. And that's local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Minister Mahinda Amaravira says that the President has allowed 25 billion rupees to continue the modernization program in the agriculture sector this year. Minister Amaravira highlighted the need to attract the youth community to agriculture in this country. In order to achieve this goal, the Youth Agri-Entrepreneurship Village System was started in Hambantota, Monoragala, Galle, Vavuniya and Kurunegala districts last year. The aim of this program is to select at least 200 villages in 200 divisional secretariat divisions island-wide and develop them as youth agro-entrepreneurship villages. And that's main news.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, the Immigration and Immigration Department has announced that the implementation of new visa procedures and the launch of an online visa issuing system starting tomorrow. Immigration and Immigration Controller General ISHJ Ilukpite said. As per the new system, the fees for the issue of visas, the necessary amendments and the duration of stays in Sri Lanka are detailed in a Gazette notification released on November 27, 2023. And that's Watchlight.
Coming up, world news.
First, the headlines. The US expect to impose further sanctions on Iran in coming days. Dubai International Airport operations temporarily suspended. At least 2 children die after boat capsizes on Jhelum River. And those are the headlines of the world news. US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says Washington expects to impose new sanctions on Iran in the coming days following its attack on Israel. Israel is calling for sanctions to be imposed on Iran's missile project. Tel Aviv's foreign minister says he has written to 32 countries calling for restrictions. A wave of missiles and drones were fired from Iran, Iraq, Syria and Yemen on Saturday, with most being downed by Israel and its allies. Tehran said the attack was a retaliation for the presumed Israeli airstrike on its consulate in Syria on 1st April, in which 13 people were killed. Heavy rains and flooding persisted at Dubai International Airport, causing disruptions last evening. Operations halted for 25 minutes in the afternoon, with 45 flights cancelled by 5:15 p.m., a spokesman told Gulf News. Due to the increased storm, operations were temporarily suspended for 25 minutes this afternoon, but have since recommenced and now in recovery mode, the airport said in a statement. At least 6 people have died after a boat taking people, or especially children, to school capsized on a river in Indian-administered Kashmir. A woman and 2 children are among the dead. 3 people, also reported to be children, are all still missing, according to the local media outlets. Local residents aided emergency crews in these rescue efforts after the accident on the Jhelum River near the city of Srinagar. And that's world news. And moving on to development news, the Sri Lanka Foreign Employment Agency has announced 200 vacancies in the Singapore police for Sri Lankans. According to a notice issued by the agency, walk-in interviews for the vacancies will be held at the SLBC office in Navada today. Applicants are requested to complete application forms accessible online and bring their certificate of advanced level or IELTS along with their passport for the interview. And that's development news.
Moving on with sports news.
32 teams are expected to take part at the first ever All-Island Air Badminton Championship conducted by Sri Lanka Badminton in association with the Uva Province Badminton Association will be held in Bandarawela on the 20th and 21st April commencing at 9 a.m. SLB launched the introductory air badminton program in September 2022 and has made every effort to popularize the game in the provinces. And that's sports news.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Sri Lanka's leading pneumatic tyre manufacturer Seat Kalani has introduced 3 new variants of high-performance radial tyres into the market, widening a choice for a significant segment of vehicle owners. Joining Seat's Orion Bravo range, the new radials are in the sizes of 155/65 R14 and 165/70 R14 and 165 R13, with the first 2 sizes designated for popular models of compact and small cars. And that's business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak tiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news, the State Finance Minister Ranjit Siamalapitia says the government has not allowed any rice imports. The permission to buy the staple food outside the country for the public consumption has not been granted to anybody. Importing only the required quantity of basmati rice has been approved for the needs of the tourist hotels. And that was economic news. Weather report. The Met Department says showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in the western, subtropical, central and northwestern provinces and in Galle and Mathura districts. Showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the eastern and Uva provinces and in Hambantota district. Several spells of showers may occur in the north-central province. Fairly heavy showers, about 75 millimeters, are likely at some places in the western, subtropical and northwestern provinces. And that was the weather report to wind up this news broadcast. Let's look at the main points once again. State Minister Shan Semasinga says that the discussions between Sri Lanka and the International Monetary Fund are progressing well. 182,140 more families will now receive benefits under the Aswesuma program following the revision of appeals and objections. Iran president is to visit the island to inaugurate the Oya project. The 108th birth anniversary of the late Sri Mawa Bandaranaike, the world's first woman prime minister, falls today. Sarvodaya founder Dr. APR passes away. News overseas: US expect to impose further sanctions on Iran in coming days. In sports, All-Island Air Badminton Championship will be held in Bandarawela on the 20th and 21st of this month. And with that we conclude this morning news broadcast of Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.